Hello and welcome to The Worthy Wife. This is the first time that we are ever offering the Worthy Wife podcast on video. So come on over, find us. We're on YouTube. And I don't know how Podbean is going to handle the distribution of this podcast. Maybe you can see it on Spotify and Apple Music today. I'm not exactly sure. But guess what? You got to start somewhere. And so this is how I've decided to start. And I'm excited to have you here with me today. Today, we're going to talk about something like super important. I know it'll be fine. We'll figure this out. About what we're going to talk about is clarity, and the reason why so many of you have not stepped out yet, but you know you want to, and you think you should. You're pretty sure you're going to, but you're just not exactly sure where or how or what. And so I want to clear some of this up for you today. So welcome. My name is Carrie Alamirsh, if we have not yet met. And it's a really tricky spelling, but if you just say all the letters, then you'll get it right. And you can find me at coachedbycarrie.com. That might be an easier way. If you want to find my website, that would be great, because if you go to my website, you will find a page that says subscribe. And on that page, you can choose to be a part of my email list. And what happens then is once a week, you will get an email from me, and I will send you updates on the podcast as well as the link to the podcast. And I usually have some journal prompts or some extra questions or maybe an embarrassing story that I didn't share here. And so it'll be over there. So please come join us in that email list community. And in that, you'll also be able to reply to the email. So if there's something you want to say to me directly, you can do that right there in the email. You can just hit reply, and I will see your response. So that's cool. And the other thing is, I have a free Facebook group, and it's called Courageous Confidence for Christian Wives. And I hope you'll come and join us there. Now, whether you're still married or you maybe marriage is something that was in your past or something that you hope to do again sometime in the future, or maybe even a first time marriage, and you will be a wife, and maybe you're already in a relationship where you are acting like the wife, but you're not yet committed in a relationship through marriage. Come on over and join us in the confidence. Nope, let me try that. Courageous Confidence for Christian Wives. And you can join us there. So we just have some conversations going on, mostly me right now. I notice you girls are pretty quiet in there, being a little bit shy, but that's okay. I don't mind. Gives me lots of room, lots of time to talk. If you want me to shut up, you need to start saying something in the group. But otherwise, come on over and join. There again, I'll be dropping maybe some live videos and some different things that are really helpful. And I would love to see you there. And I'd love to have conversations with you and connect. And it's a wonderful thing. I typically, any offers that I make, any sales, any courses, any programs that are coming up, I try to drop them into my email and my Facebook first, so that they're the first people to hear about the opportunities. And they're usually limited. I do quite small groups most of the time, or one-on-one. And so if you want to get in on some of that, or at least be the first ones to know about these things, then I would invite you to join one or both the email list and or the Facebook group. Okay. Otherwise, welcome here. We can meet here if you want. This is great. Do I have my mic on? I do. Woo. Okay. Super. Okay. So listen, ladies, some of you have been thinking and waiting for clarity. You're just asking God to please, Father, affirm in me somehow by some sign what I'm supposed to do next. Or I think this is where I'm going. I need clarity, Father. Can you give me some kind of affirmation or some kind of help so that I know how to move forward? And I'm going to just be brutal here and say to you that I have a feeling that some of you are actually avoiding a lot more than you think. And so as long as you have this stance or this posture of, I'm not sure and I want to be right, I want to do it right the first time, it's going to keep you in this state, right, of not actually moving forward. And our brain, and I love talking about neuroscience and brain stuff. I mean, this is part of my training as a life coach, is to know and understand how our brain likes to work. Now, I'm not going to nerd out on a lot of science details for you, but there are some basic things that your brain wants to do. And the first thing it would love to offer you, especially if you're going to try something new, like today, video, it's going to give you a lot of reasons and excuses why you don't know how to do this. And it's probably not going to work, and how you probably shouldn't, because maybe somebody will say something mean to you, or you'll find out that you're not as good at something as you'd hoped you would be. And so we just don't want to go there, right? And so we stop ourselves and we say, well, I just don't have clarity. I'm just not exactly sure. Maybe this isn't where the Lord is calling me, or maybe there's this other more pressing thing. And so we just keep ourselves in this state. And it's a lack of commitment on our part to make a decision and to follow through. And I'm going to talk more about why we do that. But let's just first address the fact that you have a brain and it really wants to keep you safe. It wants to save energy, and it wants to do things that are easy, right? And bring pleasure. And so no wonder we hesitate, because some of the decisions that we want to make and that we really actually sort of have in our heart already, we just haven't said them out loud, they're going to cause us problems in our relationships at home, whether that be with adult children, husbands, maybe even your mom. Like, seriously, dad, I don't know. Some of us girls had better get a grip on this, right? We want to grow up and start living the life that God has in mind for us. But this is what your brain's going to say is, I'm just not sure. We need to make sure first before we start. And I want to offer to you that actually you don't. And one of the most amazing ways to bring clarity is to start moving. And I'll talk about that more towards the end of this video. Okay. But right now, and in this moment, I want you to notice where it is you're hesitating. Where are you stalling? Where are you waiting and asking and trying to get clarification? How long has that been going on? 5, 10, 20 months? Or days, weeks? What has it been that has been able to keep you here? And as I said, one of these things is that we really are avoiding. Truly, we're not lacking clarity. We're actually in an avoidance mode. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. We don't want to be exposed, right? We don't want to take the risk that it may involve to take the next step. And so, what we'll say is, well, I'm just not sure yet. Carrie, like I just don't have, oh, what is the word that y'all use? Well, often the word is, I'm just not comfortable with that, which, I mean, seriously, the idol of comfort has got to go. Okay. I don't think God called us to be bold and courageous because it was going to be comfortable, right? I know I'm really annoying that way. I find I'm more annoying on video. Do you see that? Okay. Anyway. And then we'll say, well, I'm waiting on God, right? It's kind of like blaming him. It's like, he hasn't made it clear to me. I'm waiting to see if he'll give me some sign. And I don't have peace about it. It's just not the right timing. And I'm not totally dismissing that, because I do know that the Lord has perfect timing. And sometimes things just don't quite, as my mentor used to say, they don't come right until in just a moment, right? So, but what we're doing in the time between then is asking the Lord, now, Lord, is it now? Now, is it right? Is this the right timing? Like, we're not sitting back going, well, I'll wait, and then someday he'll drop a stone on my head and then I'll know. You're putting your fleece out there. He's like, girl, I've given you all the signs. All you need to do is start moving, right? You need to believe. You need to trust me. You need to start making this commitment. Now, it's something else that this is going to cause us to have to do, and that is we're going to have to prioritize. we can't do everything all the time, right? But also, our brain's going to say, but if I prioritize, then I'm going to miss out on something else, right? And so there's this fear, there's this risk of loss. And so we don't commit because we don't want to have to say no to anybody, right? We've made a life of being available to everyone all the time. And so this is going to change our persona, right? Our perceived persona with our people. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And we're going to wonder if they're going to accept us. There's also a fear that when we say yes to something and we commit to it, that we can't keep saying yes to everything else. And I think that's kind of what I've said, but it's just another way of saying it, right? By saying yes to ourselves, by saying yes to God and what he's called us to. I know, flip those two around, right? We want to look, first of all, to say yes to God. And then we want to make sure it's our spirit and his, right? Not our husband's spirit telling us what to do. Right? This needs to be a communication between you and the Holy Spirit. And where is he calling you? I think Christian wives don't actually know or believe that God might have a calling on their life separate from them as the wife to your husband. But the truth of it is, each of us have been called individually, and many of us a long time before we got married. And so we need to be looking and noticing and discerning with it and through the Spirit whether this is something that we need to keep moving on. I remember one time when my husband, I was asked to do something, and it was a lot of responsibility, and it was going to take up a certain amount of my time. And so I was supposed to go to my husband first and say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or this is what I've been asked to do and whatever. And we can talk more about how you should, how you might want to approach that in the future. But he wasn't excited about it at all. And, but the thing is he also did not want to put himself in the place of God in my life. And so he gave me a lot of room to make a decision. He did also let me know that he wasn't jumping up and down excited about it, and that was okay. I had to be careful to pay attention, that I would follow God first and trust him with my husband and all the things that the Lord had already called me to. And how was he going to balance this out? And what's so amazing is if God's calling you to something, he will also enable you to do it. Now, he may require that you let go of some things for now. But I have to say that even after 20 years of having been involved with Bible Study Fellowship International, I still got lots of time to do lots of things, right? So when I said yes to that, it was just for a few months or a year or 2 or 3, and it became 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's amazing. I still feel like it went by so fast. I thought I was still starting, like I was just getting ready some of the time, right? And then, 10, 15 years had already passed. And so it's not that we're going to miss out on everything by prioritizing and doing the thing that God's called us to first, but we may have to wait on a couple of things. And a lot of them, God just made it possible for me to do all of them. Like I just did all of them, and it wasn't hard. The role was hard because it was new and I was adjusting, but it wasn't hard to fit everything in because he just helped me. And I think when God puts that kind of a mantle and that kind of a calling on you, he does enable you. Let me change that. It's not just that I think that. I know that scripture tells us that those things that he calls us to, he will also enable us to be able to do them. It's so great. Okay. So I know it feels a little unsafe to go ahead and prioritize, but I want to ask you, the one and only priority you really ever need to make is to put God first in everything that you do. And then he's going to take care of the rest. Okay. We just need to say yes. I went through a period of time. I'm just going to spin off into another story here, but I had a time in my life where, oh, the Lord just kept pushing on my heart, just nudging me. And I was like, what? Like this was, and it felt a little heavy and a little confusing. And I just kept asking the Lord, like, what do you want? And he was just saying, are you willing? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Am I willing to do what? Are you willing? Carrie, are you willing? I was like, oh, Lord, help me to have a willing heart. I don't know if no, right now, honestly, no, I'm not willing. Everything in my life felt like it would fall apart if I was willing to put him first in my life, which is really what I think the question was, right? If I was to go full sentence. And so it wasn't really even about the thing that I think he was calling me to next. It was just, are you willing to put me first in everything? And I really wasn't. I was afraid, and I didn't think I'd be able to do the things that he was going to ask me to do. So I lacked faith in the um, equipping of his spirit in my life, not because I thought he wasn't faithful, but because I know sometimes I'm not. And so, anyway, as time went on, as that year was coming to it's literally almost full 12 months, that I just said, okay, Lord, yes, I'm willing. You're going to have to show me. You're going to have to tell me what it is you want, because I don't know. But yeah, I'm willing, Father. Take me. Right? Take me. I'm yours. Yeah. And then a lot of things happened after that, which is the rest of my story. But it was such a great experience to go through. And just for reference, I was about 35-ish years old at that time. And so if you're in that category of years, this could get really exciting for you. Like, I'm excited for you, for what God's going to want to do in and through your life. The question is, are you willing to put him first in everything? And so that was the big question. And yeah, it's going to feel unsafe at first, and that's okay. So let's talk about what's actually happening when we're in avoidance and we are unwilling or not ready to prioritize. When we don't decide and we want to keep all of our options open, then we're available to everything and anything all of the time. And I know that doesn't sound very good, although to me it does, because I'm super spontaneous. But I do know that we will burn out and that we will miss the mark almost 100% of the time, right? Because we're all over the place. Nothing gets completed. There's kind of like half done jobs and maybe hastily done events and chores and tasks in our lives. When you are unwilling to say yes to one thing, but you want to say yes to everything, and you're not willing to prioritize, then what happens is you don't have to risk being wrong. You don't have to disappoint anyone, right? And you don't have to face what your life might actually be requiring of you. Um, I was once, I wanted to say I was asked, but really, before I was ever asked, I had a deep sense within me because of my involvement in school, a lot of choice school programs and choice school development, different things. I had this opportunity and truly felt called to run in a local school board election, school trustee. And I did that. I ran, and I can't say I was wholehearted. I wasn't. It was the first time I really stepped out, and I followed right after the Lord asking me, "Are you willing?" And so it was a great place to start. And there was 7 trustees to be elected. I came in number 8 or number 9, so I wasn't elected. And what was really interesting about that was, people would say to me, "I thought you said you felt called." It's like, yeah, I did. I felt that the Lord had called me to this, and I obeyed, albeit maybe not with all my heart, but that didn't mean I wasn't called, right? Like, we're trying to avoid feelings of failure, feelings of shame. Like, if you don't win, then what? Does that mean God didn't call you? Sometimes being called and showing up in a way that is, pleasing to the Lord, or obedient, at least. Like I said, I don't think I put my whole heart into it, but I was testing the water on this whole thing about stepping out and doing the thing that God was calling me to. And so there was this sense of I wasn't 100%, but I was very bold in some of my moves. And I had moments where I thought I had shown up. You know what I mean? And I had some really embarrassing moments too. But the thing of it was how interesting it is how other Christians evaluate whether you really heard the voice of the Lord or not. Because to assume that if I felt called, then I would automatically win in the election was ridiculous. That's not what he asked me to do. He asked me to run, and I did. And I'd love to tell you about some of those things that were accomplished during that time. And those are just the things that I could see. And I wonder about all the other things that he was doing behind the scenes that I have no idea what were the things that he was doing, but it was amazing. And the few things he showed me, what a blessing. And I would have to say, for me, it was a stepping stone. It's what brought me here. It's what made me willing to go ahead and say yes to that leadership role in BSF. It was just the beginning of so many things for me in my life. It was a time also when my father was passing away, and he actually died just in that process of the election. And so the Lord was busy. He was at work. And what, again, you'd say, well, how could that be a good time? Or, I mean, obviously, it doesn't seem to make sense. But you know what? It wasn't hard. The hard part was saying yes and being willing, and then trusting Him to go ahead. And then all the details became very easy and really actually kind of fun. Like, they built up a lot of different aspects within my personality as well as my skill set that I wouldn't have today if I hadn't have gone through that process. So I'm really, really grateful for it. But guess what? Just because you're obedient doesn't mean you win. Okay. And so I think that's really important to note. I'm not going to tell you every time you listen to God and obey and follow that it's going to look like success to you or to others watching. But the true success is coming through the obedience and the transformation that is happening inside of you. So when we refuse to prioritize, right, we don't have to face the risk of being wrong. We don't have to face the risk of disappointing anyone. And we also don't have to become the person that God is calling us to become. We don't know what life requires of us because we're unwilling. And so we stay where we are. Many of you are currently living the results of this unwillingness to make a decision and to prioritize. I know. So let's go a little bit deeper, because this didn't just start for you last year. You've been doing this for a long time, right? And so I want you to just notice there's a couple things that have happened for you as a woman, and as a woman of God specifically. For many of us, the power of decision was actually kind of trained out of us early on. Like back in the day when you were a little girl, I bet you could have picked exactly which piece of cheesecake you wanted, or cheesecake's kind of an adult dessert, but you know what I'm saying, right? As a little girl, you knew what you liked, what you didn't like, all those things, but it kind of gets trained out of us um, over time, quite consistently, I would say, through church, through school, through maybe in your home even. And so we're taught obedience and deferral and all of that. And so whether directly or indirectly, we learned how to stop making decisions, or at least our ability to make decisions kind of got trained out of us. We thought being agreeable was more important. We thought deferring was wisdom. And sometimes it is, but not always. And how do you know? Right. And then the waiting to be led by someone else is so much safer than you making a decision. Right. And then, of course, your desires are probably not as important as anybody else's desires. And so we put ourselves last. But what I want to say about that is we're not talking about putting ourselves last in our preferences. We're talking about that God has a call on your life and somebody else also wants something from you. And so you put God second, right? We think we're putting our desires second, but what we're really doing is saying no to the call on our lives and putting somebody else's or demands on us first. And now there are needs, right? If you have maybe a senior, maybe you have a child, somebody who needs you to do certain things, then we must just ask him to, I mean, if you say yes to the Lord, he is also going to help you prioritize, right? He's going to give you your priorities and he's going to make it possible for you to do all those things. It takes a lot of faith sometimes. Okay. Some of you also, as we move into marriage, have maybe misunderstood submission. And instead we've turned that into passivity. And so this is like a whole other topic, but I just want you to notice that. And so as a wife, you think that, well, my preferences don't matter. And again, we can put somebody else's preferences ahead of ours, but we just need to make sure that we're not putting those desires that God has put in our heart and called us to on a shelf somewhere, thinking we're going to get to them later. So let's think about biblical submission. A woman can make decisions without dishonoring her husband, and she can do this without abandoning herself or the call on her life. And so that becomes a whole other skill set about how to submit to our husbands, how to hear from them, listen to them deeply, understand, look further for more explanation, find some details, etc., about how we can obey God first and submit to our husbands. You were never asked by the Lord to give away your opportunity or your ability to make a decision. That is not submission. Somewhere along the line, we hand that over thinking that this is what God wants, or at least what we've been taught submission means. And so that's a whole other discussion, but I think it's worth thinking about here and considering, because one of the things that we fear most usually about prioritizing and doing the thing that God's called us to is the response of our husbands. So here's what I want you to do. 3 things. Think about the one thing that you really wanted to do. Think about one thing. And let's say, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you want to go to your sister's house for some girl time. And maybe you want to go for a whole weekend. And so you're going to be gone and you don't make a plan. You never put it in your calendar. You don't organize it with your sister and you don't talk to your husband about it. It just stays in the background because you're concerned about all the things, right? It's going to become difficult. Somebody's going to be mad. Somebody's going to be out a babysitter. Let's say if you babysit grandkids or somebody else's children, they're going to have to arrange for different childcare. It's going to mess up somebody else's schedule, all the things. But you have really sensed a need to be together with your sister, or maybe your heart is just so longing for that connection. So what is it? What is the one thing that you have not yet been willing to say, this is what I am going to do? And I like to think about it right now, this time of year, maybe there's something in the summertime. And so I think we think it has to be, no, okay, for the rest of my life, this is what I'm doing now. And it's like, no, just make it simple. Make it simple. Maybe it's a change in your schedule for the summer. Maybe it's a little vacation to your sister's house, right? And so we want to write it down and we want to say it out loud. And yes, there'll be all the feedback from you doing that. Then notice what your hesitation is. Write it down. What is your biggest concern about this? What are your top 5 concerns about making this decision to go ahead and do this thing? Just write them down on a piece of paper, right? People will be inconvenienced. I'll need a babysitter for my dog. Who's going to feed the fish? Like, I don't know what your things are, but just notice what they are and jot them down and have a look at them. Realize that this is a one-time commitment, something small. And I want you to go ahead and make the phone call, block off the time, say no to something else, right? If somebody says, but can you do this or that? You're going to have to say, no, actually, I'm going to be gone for that weekend, or no, I'm changing my schedule for the summer. Just go ahead and say it and say yes to the thing that you've been putting off, but you know God's been calling for you to do. Okay. And you are going to start rebuilding a sense of trust within your own heart and with yourself. When you start taking action and you start doing the thing that you say you're going to do, you are going to build so much trust with yourself. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what we've lost, right? We don't trust ourselves to be there for ourselves. We instead will punish us if we don't succeed at all the things we try. And so be willing to make some mistakes, be willing to do it wrong, but just be willing to commit and be willing to prioritize putting God first in everything and just see where he will take you. You don't lack clarity, right? You are avoiding doing the thing that God has asked you to do? Do you want to stay there? Or are you ready to say yes to the Lord and to follow him wherever he wants to take you? You've perhaps lost yourself along the way, right? You're probably a woman who has learned to override the Holy Spirit's nudging in your life, and it was lost over a period of time. The good news is you can bring her back. You can tune in once again to the Spirit. And yeah, sometimes you're going to get it wrong. Whatever. I don't know how you know if you got it wrong, because just like with the election story I just shared with, I don't think I got it wrong. I just think it was a building block. He never promised me I'd win. It was just a step, right? And you know what? My girls learned so much through that. My dad learned so much through that. Even before he passed away, he was shocked. He had admiration. He was proud. It built his faith. Like, it was a great experience to be able to go through that, and it was not a failure. But hey, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It's fine. There is a version of your life that requires you to stop waiting and start moving. If this is speaking to you directly, if this is hitting any kind of nail on the head, so to speak, I want to invite you to come and join me. I'm offering it for the first time. So it's a pilot project, and it's going to be very small for just a few of us, but it's only 4 weeks long, and the price tag's super tiny. So win, right? And I just want to invite you to come and join me. It's called A Time for Peace. Stop putting your life on standby, right? I almost think we could say, stop putting the Spirit on standby. It's like we're quenching his Spirit sometimes, I think. And so I want to invite you to come and join me. We're going to run this program through the month of June. I'm going to start on June 2nd. That's a Tuesday evening. I know normally everybody's busy, but guess what? Most Bible studies are closing down right now, and June would be a great time to know you've got another 4 weeks of biblical sound study, coaching, fellowship, etc., in this group coaching program that I'm offering you. It's only 4 weeks long. So I think you could commit, and I think you could prioritize this one thing. It's small, really, when you think about it. And so I want to invite you to come and join me. And we're going to meet on a Zoom call. It's only going to be 1 hour long. And the first thing we're going to do is look at our time and see where we're spending it. How are we spending our time? And we're going to account. It's like an audit in a sense. And a lot of times it's not just what's on our calendar, it's what's actually missing from our calendar. And so we're going to do that the very first week. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss the first week of this program. And the other 3 weeks are going to be amazing. I'll tell you more about what second, third, and fourth week are going to look like. And I don't know, maybe there'll be some other follow-up calls involved with that too. So I hope you'll come join me. I love you. Thank you for being here with me. This has been the most awkward, weirdest thing for me to be able to do this on a video, but I kind of like it. So I trust that the Lord will bless you and keep you and guide you in all wisdom and all righteousness. You are his child. You're not broken, ladies. You're not. By his stripes, you have been healed. You are his righteousness, and he loves you very much. I'm the worthy wife, Carrie Alamirsch. I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Bye for now.